This semester, I've had the privilege of observing a preschool class at Long Early Learning Center here in Abilene. The text we have been studying in my field course is called Challenging Behavior in Young Children, Understanding, Preventing, and Responding Effectively, written by Barbara Kaiser and Judy Razminski. While observing at Long, I have been able to witness strategies mentioned in our Challenging Behavior text in play in the classroom and have made several connections. As far as the demographics of my preschool classroom, there is one teacher, Miss E, one teacher assistant, Miss C. There are 19 total students, with 11 students being boys and 8 students being girls. 5 students are black, 9 students are white, and 5 students are Hispanic. All students range between 4 or 5 years old. There are 4 students that come from military backgrounds, no students on IEP plans, and there are currently no students being pulled for outside services, but the teacher is referring 1 student for language learning services and 2 students for speech services. There is 1 ESL student. French is a language spoken in his home and he speaks English but not well. The teacher is going through an assessment process with him to decide what to do next. The first connection I made between the Kaiser-Razminski text comes from Chapter 7 on page 126 and says, when it comes to establishing the social climate, teachers set the stage and play the lead. They are the primary role models, teaching by everything they say and do. Whether they're responding to one child or several, their words and actions, large and small, tell each child about the power, ability, and worth of everyone in the classroom. Whether we realize it or not, children are watching our every move, and oftentimes what they see being modeled by us is how they interpret the actions and choices they make within the classroom. This is especially important in terms of how teachers choose to handle challenging behavior, because how they choose to handle challenging behavior dictates the classroom environment. When teachers model collaborative social learning by gathering students' opinions and giving them responsibility, they communicate to their class that their presence matters and they have something significant to contribute. One way Miss E models positive social behavior in her preschool classroom is by assigning daily roles and responsibilities to each child. As far as what is expected of each child, Miss E expects that every morning, each child must hang up their backpack in their cubby, write their name on the laminated sheet of paper to be turned in, and move their name tag to a soft center to begin playing. By having this responsibility system set in place, Miss E is communicating with her students that they are vital members of the classroom community and that their help is needed. The second connection I made comes from page 136 in Chapter 7 and says, integrating social and emotional learning into the curriculum makes it especially effective. During the preschool years, children learn social and emotional skills that are paramount to every aspect of their early childhood development. They may learn these skills from adults who model, teach, reinforce, and provide feedback on their behavior, but ultimately young children learn these skills through interactions with their peers. Peers are important models because children will imitate those whom they are closest to. Beginning in preschool, teachers must model social and emotional skills so that children will know how to appropriately interact with peers, how to communicate with their preferences, how to learn alongside others, and understand the impact their actions have on those around them. I see several examples of teacher-modeled social and emotional skills at play in my classroom at Long. One way Miss E works with her students to develop social and emotional skills is by teaching them how their actions impact those around them. Specifically, Miss E teaches them that their negative actions toward others can cause others to become sad and feel hurt. So to counteract this, she teaches impulse control. To teach impulse control and model for her students how their actions impact others, she has included a small group specifically designed for students to practice handling and caring for baby dolls. By teaching them how to care for and handle baby dolls, Miss E is teaching a critical social and emotional skill of impulse control. One strategy I could use to promote more collaboration and cooperation between my students is a strategy called Do It Together. Do It Together encourages students to work together to create Play-Doh from scratch. To make the Play-Doh, students will need to mix ingredients such as flour, salt, powdered tempera paint, and water in a large bowl. Each child can pass the bowl around and take turns kneading the dough. When finished, the group can divide the dough into portions for each child standing at the table, and following a period of play, they can return the Play-Doh to its container for later use. That way, when children pull the Play-Doh out during a center time, they will be reminded that when they do it together, they will make more meaningful connections. The third connection I found from the text is from page 129 in Chapter 7 and says, research shows that programs where children have the freedom to choose and use open-ended materials and activities in their own way engender more social interaction and pro-social behavior. When children are given opportunities to participate in structured cooperative activities and work together, they come to enjoy spending time with each other and working toward a common goal. They are more likely to become friends and less likely to act aggressively or choose challenging behavior. In order for children to reach this level of friendship and form healthy relationships, teachers need to give students numerous activities to move around, use a wide variety of materials as they play, and choose their desired activities. In Miss E's class at Long, children have an abundance of activities, centers, and materials easily accessible to choose from while they play. Since the majority of time in the classroom is spent playing, Miss E has thoughtfully designed centers and stations with students' interests in mind. When it comes time for children to choose their center, they understand that only 3 students can be at a center at a time, and then in order to play at a center, they must move their name tag to a poster board for each center. If there are too many names on a poster, the children have to work together to negotiate who gets to stay and who gets to leave, and they practice kindly asking each other for turns. As they negotiate the rules of who gets to stay and who must leave, the children get to practice communicating with their personal desires, listening to their peers, putting others' needs before their own, and problem solving, which are all skills that lead to healthy social interaction. The fourth quote I found from page 138 of Chapter 7 says, perhaps the most basic strategy when it comes to self-regulation is helping children identify their own emotions, both positive and negative. This understanding is fundamental to social competence and provides children with a powerful tool. It permits them to use words rather than acting out their feelings. One of the most helpful tools a teacher can provide her students is language. Without language, children cannot effectively communicate their needs or find the words to articulate complex ideas and thoughts that arise as they are learning. When it comes to challenging behavior, it is of utmost importance that children will have a toolkit full of words and strategies to use when their big feelings surface. To prevent challenging behavior and give students space to process and articulate big emotions, Miss E has a space in their classroom specifically designed to help children calm down in moments of anger or frustration. When a child in her class becomes emotional and struggles to find the words to explain how they are feeling in the moment, Miss E simply points to a safe space and tells them to sit there until they feel like they can participate again. Once they're ready to share, Miss E gives them an opportunity to explain to her what is going on to attempt to fix the situation. Whatever the situation, Miss E has given her students tools such as language and safe spaces to use their words rather than act out their feelings, which promotes self-regulation. To increase the development of self-regulation skills for children with challenging behavior, I would like to incorporate a relax bottle for my students. A relax bottle may help children calm down when they are tempted to act out of their stress response when they are experiencing big emotions. This is a much more positive alternative to timeout and is significantly more effective. To create a relax bottle, you will need a plastic bottle, crown shavings, water, and a glue gun or super glue. Remove the label from the plastic bottle, put several spoonfuls of crown shavings in the bottle, and fill the bottle with water. To seal the bottle, glue it on the lid with glue gun or super glue. If a child is out of control, I will shake up the bottle and then hand it to the child. Watching the crown shavings hopefully will allow them to focus their mind and attention on something other than their anger or desire to lash out on another student. The fifth connection I made comes from page 130 on chapter 7 and says, rules and policies, sometimes called behavior standards or norms, teach children about expectations, set boundaries for behavior, and make substantial contributions to the social climate. They also have a symbolic value. They tell children you care about their behavior. In order to create a safe, predictable, and structured classroom environment that every teacher strives for, rules and policies must be set in place for children's actions and words. Without set expectations, children tend to test the water with what they can and cannot do, which often results in inappropriate behavior and a teacher struggling to keep her class in check. To prevent challenging behavior from arising and hold children to standards that enhance their learning experience, children need structure. The rules and policies that Miss E expects her class to follow are that children are to use gentle touches, inside voices, listening ears, walking feet, and kind words. Along with the class rules and behavior management, several other expectations Miss E has for her students are that they must clean up after themselves if they've been in a center, they're responsible for their own belongings, they must line up in a straight line before they can leave the classroom, and they must sit on their square during carpet time. The first connection I found from chapter 8 on page 149 says when children and their families see themselves and their culture reflected in the classroom, they're more likely to feel that they belong and become engaged in what's going on, so decorate accordingly. One of the most important teaching strategies when considering how to effectively communicate information to young children is giving them opportunities to see themselves reflected in learning experiences. People are naturally more likely to engage with the information they're interested in and familiar with, so one way teachers can connect with their students is by providing them ways for them to connect with their culture. As a teacher, if you can communicate to your children that you value their culture and want to know their family members as well, they are much more likely to trust you and feel a sense of belonging. As far as how Miss E has chosen to represent each child within their family members in her classroom, she has created wall decorations with pictures of each student along with their parents or caregivers and hung them where every student can see. That way, children can feel their parents are a part of the classroom community, and when they get sad, they can look up at pictures of themselves with their parents, something that is very special to them. In order to create a sense of belonging, a helpful activity and involve children and their family members as part of the classroom community is creating a class flag. I would like to have my students create a class flag that represents everyone in our classroom family to promote a sense of unity and belonging. To create a class flag, I would stretch out a large sheet of paper on a table somewhere. I would paint the name of the school on top of the flag and draw a sun in the center of the flag. To form a circle all the way around the sun, each child would have the opportunity to trace their hand along the border so the handprints of each member of our class surrounded the sun. I would write each child's name under their handprint, and students would be in charge of carrying our flag to represent our class wherever we went. The second connection I made from chapter 8 on page 150 says, in early childhood or kindergarten classroom, the dramatic play area inspires the most complex social interaction, followed by blocks, games, woodworking, sand, and manipulatives. So create spaces that can accommodate these small group activities and encourage children to play together. It is no secret that play is vital to a child's cognitive, physical, social, and emotional development in the early childhood years. In fact, play provides the foundation for all other learning, growth, and development to take place. Teachers who understand that play is vital to a child's development ensure that play is the main source of learning in the early years, and base their teaching on strategies that heavily involve play. In Chapter 8 of Challenging Behavior, Kreisen and Razminsky offer practical advice for how teachers can promote play. Several ways Miss E integrates play into her preschool curriculum are by giving them at least an hour to play in centers each day, giving children an abundance of creative materials, and giving them choices when it comes to center time. Students can choose their paper, choose their writing utensils, and draw whatever they would like. In the writing center, students can choose to write on a whiteboard, use a sketch toy, fill out a Mad Lib, or arrange magnets that tell a story. Wherever they are in the classroom, Miss E encourages students to use their imaginations and welcomes the mess that comes with our students playing freely. The third connection I made from Chapter 8 on page 154 says procedures also help to establish a predictable environment. Procedures explicitly tell children what is expected of them and how to carry those expectations out. They are the glue that holds the classroom together, and they provide structure for the students as well as the classroom environment to prevent chaos. Because children thrive in structured, predictable environments, it is critical for teachers to have set procedures in place to prevent challenging behavior. Ms. E has several classroom procedures set in place for each moment of the day so that there are few opportunities for children to get out of hand. For example, Ms. E has hung at least 5 daily schedules around her classroom for her students so that they know exactly what is taking place at the exact time. Another procedure Ms. E has concluded in her schedule is time set apart for transitions and movements. Even in the in-between moments, the children are singing along to a song, watching a countdown, practicing the alphabet, or singing along to a nursery rhyme. One procedure I'd like to implement in my future classroom to establish a predictable environment is hanging up a sign-in poster where my students walk in. To create a class sign-in poster, I would write "Sign in please" on the poster board, laminate it or cover it with clear contact paper, and hang it on my classroom door using string or yarn. To help me know that each child is present each day, I would ask my students to sign the poster on the door before coming into the classroom by either writing their name or leaving a mark on the poster. Fourth connection I made from Chapter 8 on page 150 says to cultivate independence and autonomy and help children develop self-regulation skills, arrange the space so they can choose activities and materials for themselves. As previously mentioned, it is important for your classroom environment to be well organized and stocked with materials that children can access while they are learning. The activity centers in the classroom should be well organized, stocked, colorful, accessible, and strategically located. How a child learns is not a one-size-fits-all process, so teachers should provide their students with an abundance of resources that they learn to make meaning in the classroom centers and spaces. To aid her students in cultivating self-regulation skills, Ms. E has organized her classroom so that her students know where everything is and what materials they can choose from. The tables are organized at the back of the room with plenty of chairs for children to work with, and the shelves all around the room are stocked with materials. The shelves are at just the right level for the preschoolers to reach supplies, and the labels of boxes are right at the students' eye level. For the children who struggle to stay on task, there are hand and footprints located on the floor parameter so they know where to walk. All of these examples reflect Ms. E's desire to give her preschoolers choices with their play and help develop their self-regulation skills. The fifth connection I made from Chapter 8 on page 164 says, Burfree found another important feature of effective teachers. They respond to individual needs and approach each child differently, whereas ineffective teachers use the same strategies as all their students. Teachers must develop a wide repertoire of skills, Burfree suggests, in order to choose the most appropriate ones for any given child and situation. This quote reinforces the idea that challenging behavior can be prevented first and foremost by stable, consistent, and caring adults in a child's life. Without a consistent caregiver to provide the love and support children need, they often act out in a way that demonstrates their need for care. Children are more likely to obey those they can trust, and trust comes from knowing your students well. In her preschool classroom, Ms. E has done an incredible job at acquiring a wide range of effective teaching strategies, especially designed for students with challenging behavior. 3 examples in specific that I've noticed Ms. E has done are letting her students with challenging behavior keep backpacks on during transition time, letting them sit off the carpet during large group time, and letting them play with fidget toys to help with impulse control. Since the backpacks are weighted, they provide some resistance and keep the children from being able to lash out. Second, for 2 students in particular, Ms. E has created boxes on the floor outside the main carpet with tape. Within these 2 tape boxes, children who struggle with keeping their hands to themselves can have some personal space. Third, for students who struggle with impulse control, Ms. E has several handheld fidget toys that children can hold or keep around their necks. All of these examples are strategies that Ms. E has in her toolkit because she knows her children. As previously mentioned, one defining feature of effective teachers is how they respond to their students' needs when challenging behavior arises or unplanned situations threaten to create chaos within their classroom. One strategy I found to help develop motor skills and coordination when lessons don't go as planned, such as on rainy days, is creating a balance beam. To make a balance beam in my classroom, I will place masking tape on my floor to make a line. I will ask my children to line up and tell them to pretend the tape is like a tightrope act in the circus and slowly walk across it one at a time. If I can implement this strategy on days when my classroom becomes chaotic, I can give my students opportunities to develop motor skills by following instructions and walking on the balance beam.